Yeah, we saw Stroll. Obviously the first look was that he had binned it into turn 9.
It looked quite horrific as well. We've had some high-profile crashes the last couple of weeks, including this week.
Yeah, something happened with possibly debris damaging his car going into it. But yeah, he was a passenger. There's nothing he could do about it. He was actually doing a really good race. I've been really quite impressed with Stroll, and he's continued to outperform Perez.
Yes.
So he was unfortunate here to get that damage, and it was a big, big hit, a very big shunt into that barrier.
Before this happened, I was convinced that he was a P3 contender. I thought, could he possibly get 2 podiums on the trot? I was like, that would be massive for Racing Point. And what a great way to cement your position within that team, especially with all the questions around, obviously, Vettel and Perez, and why it wasn't Stroll. I think actually that would have been a great way to cement that win. Like you said, he's been outperforming Perez for a couple of weeks now. And today was one of those points up until his accident. There were questions whether, going back to the accident now, whether he had picked up a puncher or a puncher going into that corner, quite a high-speed corner. And what I noticed after the accident, and it took him a long time to actually get a camera on Stroll, which is always a bit concerning when you're a Formula One fan and they don't cut straight to the accident or they don't show a replay straight away. We've seen it in Russia a couple of years ago when was it Kvyat who had quite a nasty accident, and they red flagged it and didn't show the incident straight away because they didn't get a response back from the car itself or on the radio. He took a long time to get out of that vehicle, a really long time. I wasn't quite sure.
Must have been pretty shook. He must have hit it pretty hard.
It looked like
he certainly didn't slow down much.
The chassis was in. Well, the rear end of the chassis was off. Well, it wasn't where it should be. It was off to the right. It had bent round, and the front car was completely ruined as well. You could see this more evidently when they hooked it up on the crane and started pushing it back into the runoff area, into the slip road. How broken that car was. So yeah, I just don't like see drivers take a long time to get out of cars. It's just not nice to see.
I think he probably was just taking a moment to because there was an onboard where he was rubbing his eyes and he just kind of looked a little bit like he was making sure he was okay with himself before he got out. I think obviously in that moment he's not necessarily thinking, oh, if I don't get out of the car, people will think something's happened to me. So.
Just feels like an age for any Formula One fan who's watching the TV waiting to see a driver show some kind of movement or, self-extract. That's the key thing. If they can self-extract, then 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, they're usually okay. Just took a lot longer than I was expecting. And it just like I said, this week and last week we've had, and actually going back to Spa, we've had some really high-profile impacts and accidents. And, I think we've been very lucky that all the drivers have walked away from all of them. Going back to, Giovinazzi in the Spa and, George Russell collecting him, all the way back to last week and Leclerc in the barrier. Now this week, the start-finish straight was just horrific. And now Stroll went off at one of the fastest corners over the whole calendar into a tyre wall. It was pretty bad, to be honest.
Yeah, they're very scary incidents, but it's part of the sport. It's part of the risk that's involved in motorsport at any level, and at Formula One, the highest level. The risk becomes even greater, and sometimes, just awful things happen. But I think that we've seen the effectiveness of the halo today, and we've seen how sturdy these cars are.
Oh, absolutely.
And we've seen that coming back to these older tracks, presents just that little bit more danger than something we might expect at a more modern venue. I can't help but be a little bit thrilled by that.
Yes.
To be honest, but I think I can only really say that because nothing bad has happened.